miss the days when the night before Thanksgiving was slow in terms of news. The only thing that the president needed to do was pardon a turkey, wish people, a safe and happy Thanksgiving. And then, we'd be off for the next couple of days, have a nice long weekend, relax. That is not this America. No, no, because breaking news never fucking stops when you decide to elect an absolute inept sociopath. And then you wonder, I wonder why we feel this way, why we feel run down. It is the day before Thanksgiving, and generally, normally, people would be feeling excited, joyful, maybe a little bit stressed, but not worn the fuck out the way that I'm feeling right now. Okay. So if you are like me and you're just, clawing to this holiday season, know that you are not alone and that we will get through this together. Welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show, dear friends. I'm so happy that you are all here. Let's get into it. So here we are, Thanksgiving Eve. I'm glad that you all are here. Hopefully, you are listening to this while you're doing something like, I don't know, baking pies, making stuffing, basting your turkey. I have no idea, but I hope that you're doing something joyful while you're watching this. But here, unfortunately, dear friends, we have breaking news that happened just, before I was getting ready to put the show together. 2 National Guard members were shot near the White House. West Virginia's governor said the guardsmen had been killed, then backtracked. The police said one suspect was in custody. Trump, who is in Florida, of course, said the attacker had also been shot. So here is the latest, and maybe you all who are watching this right now with me will have the up to the latest. This was as of 20 minutes ago. 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard were shot near the White House on Wednesday afternoon. The state's governor said on social media, adding that there were conflicting reports about their condition. He initially said that the two had been killed in the attack, but quickly backtracked. The Guard members were part of a deployment ordered in August by Trump. The shooter was also badly hurt. Trump said on social media, adding that the person would pay a very steep price, blah, blah, blah. So where it happened, dozens of emergency responders and police vehicles were amassed at the corner of 17th and I Streets Northwest near the entrance of a hotel just northwest of the White House. Local police had cornered off several blocks as emergency workers tended to one of the apparent victims. The White House was on lockdown. The White House was initially put under condition red, which signifies a potential threat to life. It was downgraded to orange, which indicates high risk. Once it was clear the suspect was in custody, Trump and other top aides who were not on the White House grounds on Wednesday anyway. And this comes amidst what, folks? The bullshit, controversial deployment of the National Guard in Washington, D.C. and other cities around this country where they do not belong, right? The National Guard is supposed to be deployed when the governors or mayors of that area, city, state ask for the National Guard. There is no reason for the National Guard to be in D.C. at this time. Many federal judges have said that Donald Trump's deployment of National Guard is unconstitutional, doesn't have the authority to do it. And we know, and thank you to Susan right now, who has said that Hegseth has ordered the deployment of 500 additional National Guard to DC for what? To pick up fucking garbage? To agitate the public? For what exactly? Because frankly, if I'm the family members, I'm blaming the critical injury that these National Guardsmen have received. I pray that they make it out alive, right, of this situation. But Donald Trump put them here. Pete Hegseth put them here. Put them in Washington, D.C. for absolutely no fucking reason whatsoever. So the controversial deployment, the attack comes amid Trump's highly contentious deployment of more than 2,000 National Guard troops across the streets and subway stations of Washington, D.C., with many of them concentrated in tourist spots downtown. Last week, a federal judge ordered a temporary suspension of the deployment, which began in August, finding that it was likely illegal. And this is what Sean Hubler said. In California, where the National Guard was first deployed this year by the White House, several soldiers who recently returned from the Los Angeles activation said they were angry but unsurprised by the attack in Washington, D.C. I knew this would happen, said one veteran National Guard member whose service included a combat stint in Iraq before he was sent to Los Angeles December to back up federal immigration agents. You know, this is all a part of what Donald Trump wanted, right? Which is you roll out the National Guard, you agitate and provoke the people who would normally be going about their day-to-day lives peacefully, not harming anyone. You agitate, agitate, agitate until there is an inflection point. Now, as of right now, we have no evidence as to the why. We have no motive as to the reason why these two National Guardsmen were shot. I'm certain that MAGA is cooking up some type of left-wing conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. Left wing, right wing, it doesn't matter, right? Our National Guard do not belong picking up trash in Washington, D.C. or surveying tourist destinations, right? It is a waste of their time and it is a waste of our money. Donald Trump should not get to use our military as his own personal Gestapo to have a show of force and put their lives unnecessarily in harm's way. Like I say, this shooting, I put squarely on the shoulders of this administration because those National Guardsmen have no business being in this area. Literally, no business. So they're picking up trash. Every single day that the National Guard is out in these cities, tens of millions of dollars are being wasted. And now their lives are in jeopardy because of what exactly? Trump's ego? His retribution campaign? But of course, you won't hear mainstream media lay this on his shoulders. They'll pretend like this is, some siloed event, or they'll, blame it on politics, left wing, right wing, blah, blah, blah. No, this is Donald Trump. This is his doing. So let's just call a spade and save ourselves the euphemism and the bullshit, because I frankly am exhausted and I do not have the time. So we will stay up to date on this story and see what happens. Thank you, Susan, so much. The update is that CNN is reporting both National Guardsmen are in critical condition, but unlike recent, the backtracking from the governor, they are in critical condition. They have not passed. Prayers go out to them, to their families who no doubt were alerted, and again, this is Thanksgiving Eve. Why are these people even in Washington, D.C. and not with their families? If you're going to be deployed, you should be deployed somewhere where you're being of service, right? That's why these National Guards people sign up, to be of service, not to be the personal protection for the Proud Boys, also known as ICE. Speaking of ICE, Lord Jesus, I mean, you can't write this shit. It's just so ridiculous. ICE detains woman with family ties to White House press secretary. Bruna Caroline Ferreira, I'm probably butchering her name, the mother of a nephew of the White House press secretary, bobblehead Barbie, was pulled over and arrested on her way to pick up her son from school. I mean, you can't make this shit up. So the woman in question, Caroline Ferreira, the mother of Carolyn Levitt's 11-year-old nephew, was pulled over and arrested on November 12th on her way to pick up her son from school in the suburb of Boston. Her lawyer has said she is currently being detained at an ICE facility in Louisiana. Her lawyer said that Ferreira, 33, is seeking a green card and was arrested without due process. The Department of Homeland Security said in a statement that Miss Ferreira was in the country illegally and had entered the United States from Brazil when she was a child on a B-2 tourist visa that required her to leave the country by June 6, 1999. She was previously engaged to Miss Levitt's brother, but they never married. They have shared custody of their son, who lives with Mr. Levitt in New Hampshire. And she lives in Massachusetts. Folks, I'm just like, do you understand the level of disassociation that you have to push for policies that would hurt your own family? Like, I don't know the reason why they didn't get married. And honestly, I don't care. But the fact is, there is bobblehead Barbie standing before the press corps on a regular basis, parroting the cruel and disgusting and vile talking points from this administration, being the mouthpiece of hate, if you will, knowing good goddamn well that she has a family member, right? Because this woman is the mother of her nephew. So she has a family member who is undocumented, was brought to this country when they were a child. You think that they don't know this? You think they didn't know this? Right? Is she a criminal? Right? She's one of those illegals. It's always so interesting to me that all of these fucking white men seem to find themselves with all of these illegals from Brazil, from Eastern Europe, and they all are in MAGA. Like, does that? That's a topic for another day. It's a topic for another day. Right? The penchant for these right-wing men to father children with undocumented women. It's anyway. But there goes bobblehead Barbie, sitting up there, standing up there with her fucking cross hanging over her cleavage, where she tells us about the horrible people in this country. And I guess her former sister-in-law is one of them. No due process. No reason. I guess she just looked the part as she was supposed to be picking up her 11-year-old. And like, what do you say to that child? I can only imagine. Why didn't mommy come and pick me up today? And where is she? Do you see how Massachusetts picked up and then boom, in an ICE detention facility in Louisiana? And like, I wonder if she was yelling Caroline's name the entire time, because this happened 2 weeks ago and we're finding out about it now. You think Caroline knew? I'm pretty sure she probably did. I mean, every time you think that there is a bottom, they frack their way to hell. Up next, I really appreciated, I will say, as you know, the only person that I'm really a fan of on CNN is our friend Harry Anton. Otherwise, it is just constant placating to right-wing rampant liars who they love to platform on this show. But I want you to take a listen to Abby Phillip, who brought up the fact that, we've been waiting a really long time for the Republicans' alternative to Obamacare. And let me just play the clip for you so you all can listen to her, and then we'll discuss on the other side, because I'm just exhausted.
Mike Johnson said that his party had a health care plan and it was ready to go. Listen to this.
Is if the government reopened tonight, would Republicans have a plan to address the Obamacare subsidies?
Yes.
You would have a plan
we
tonight.
Have proposals to, we could have that ready immediately. Yes.
Well, it has been more than a month since that interview, and still there is no plan. Remember this moment, late John McCain and his famous thumbs down that killed the Republican replacement to Obamacare. That was 8 years ago. That means Republicans had 8 years to come up with an alternative, and still there's nothing. So after that McCain moment, Trump tweeted that lawmakers should let Obamacare implode, and then they'll be forced to create a new plan. And earlier this month, he posted that Obamacare, quote, sucks. But it turns out that the centerpiece of the Trump plan is to extend the Obamacare subsidies. Well, that's something that Democrats had demanded during the shutdown.
It's 15 years since Obamacare. 8 years since John McCain historically voted no. And in that time, we are still waiting for concepts of a plan. Like, let's just be clear that not only do these people not know how to govern, right? They actually have no thoughts. And so the cornerstone of Donald Trump's plan is to extend the subsidies that caused the shutdown in the first fucking place. And I said this yesterday, it would be an easy win in an administration that has zero of them, an easy win to extend the subsidies for the next 3 to 4 years so that, guess what? Guess who would then have a talking point to be able to campaign on for midterms? Republicans. Oh, Donald Trump is the healthcare president. I mean, we know that it's bullshit, but their base wouldn't. And even the bare minimum of giving people what they are owed, right? Which is healthcare. This administration can't actually manage to do. So they fumble again and again and again. And I want to play this clip of Bakari Sellers on CNN, who just, eviscerated a Republican who was lying once again, because that's what they do. They get platformed and paid handsomely to go on cable news and lie to the American people. And I want you to take a listen to what Bakari Sellers offered with regard to Obamacare and why it actually matters.
The Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, it mirrors what happened in 2006 with the Heritage Foundation coming out to eliminate the free rider program and create this individual mandate that was pushed forward by Mitt Romney, right? So this is not some Democratic socialist just creation first. By the way, it was pushed forward by the Heritage Foundation. So if Scott and Ken want to disagree with that, that's fine.
And
health, that's fine.
Strongly.
But that's fine. You take that up with the Heritage Foundation. But what I'm also saying is that healthcare is more than that, which is why I was trying to jump in earlier, because people have this really weird just fascination with it's just people who show up in your emergency rooms. We've heard that this whole time. It's more than that. And what Obamacare did, which is what I like to call it, because he deserves credit for it. Whatever you want to say, he deserves credit for it. He did something that nobody else was able to do, but it allowed people to stay on their insurance until they were 26 years old. It got rid of health insurance companies who were literally pushing people out of emergency rooms, not caring for them because they had pre-existing conditions. But healthcare is more than that, and I think Ken would agree with this as well, because in rural communities like you represented in Virginia, like I'm from in South Carolina, it is almost the epicenter of your economy because it props up your rural hospitals. If those hospitals shut down, if you don't expand Medicaid, what happens? Your entire economy closes down because what's around those rural healthcare facilities? Bakeries, little hotels, pharmacies, all of these things. It's your number one employer. So it is a part of most communities in this country, entire ecosystem. And Republicans are so microscopic when it comes to it. So that's why you have people like Nikki Haley when she was governor of South Carolina who didn't expand Medicaid, and now they're looking back at it and it was a faux pas. Or Mississippi, because Republicans fundamentally wanted to tie this to Barack Obama. They didn't want him to have the credit, and now they don't have a fix or a solve for what should be a program that adapts with time.
Right.
I mean, it is exhausting to be so clear, to provide such thoughtfulness to people that are committed to lying to their own constituents. And like I said before, I'm like, the reason why I have spent less and less time trying to break down the doors of corporate media and appear on these shows and programs is because I don't want to be in conversation with people who get paid handsomely to lie to the American people. Nor do I have the temperament to sit there and think that this is all just some type of political game and, oh, look at me, I was clever today. Meanwhile, there are people that are literally dying in parking lots, right? From lack of healthcare. There are rural hospitals that are being shut down where people are driving now 50, 80 miles to the next hospital because their hospitals in rural areas were largely funded by Medicaid. You know, it just, when you see these people and the smugness that they offer, it's really hard to fucking stomach. I have to be honest with you. There was a time, and I say this often, there was a time, and it was like 10, 15 years ago when I first got into media. And, you know, you used to go on TV and you used to have these intellectual, you know, debates and spar, and it was about policy and who was, you know, whose ideas were the best. We are so far removed from that. There is real harm that is happening. Real people are dying. Real people are losing their lives, and they don't have to. They don't have to. And so when I sit there and I watch these smug idiots who the only reason they objected to Mitt Romney Care, which is essentially what it was adapted, what Obamacare adapted, was a conservative Republican plan, was because it came from a black man and it came from a Democrat. It didn't matter whether it was going to be good for the American people. They didn't want the black man to have a win. And so because of that, because of their racism, everyone else must lose. That's why Jonathan Metzl wrote the book Dying of Whiteness. They are a glowing example of that every single fucking day. And even now, still, 15 years later, you have the opportunity to extend these subsidies, right? To somehow balance the fuckery that you just opened up with the big ugly bill that is giving permanent tax breaks to people that have more than a fucking enough. You can't even manage to do that because the cruelty is the point. And I'm tired of having false debates with people who know that their cruelty is the point, but they want to gaslight you into believing that, oh, it's something different. Tell me again what job you could have where your boss, the American people, are saying, show me a plan, and you tell me for 15 years it's coming tomorrow and you're still employed? It doesn't make sense to me. And I know that the American people are tired because I'm tired. I know folks are worn out. I know that they're disheartened. I know that they are riddled, you know, with grief in this moment, grieving a country that is betraying them day in and day out. But my God, you got to take some responsibility for not having paid attention all this time and allowed these vermin of people like these. They lack everything that makes us human. They lack empathy. They lack sympathy. They lack morality. They lack values. And when you're not paying attention, these are the people that come into power. When people say that, you know what, politics is not for me. I don't really like politics. Well, politics gives a fuck about you whether you give a fuck about politics. And that's where we find ourselves. Millions of Americans are going to go into incredible debt, which this country is already known for. Do you know that over 600,000 Americans a year go into medical debt? We're the only industrialized nation that happens in. But you want to walk around with your fucking Old Navy flag shirts talking about America is great, America first? America first what, to die? Because we're the only industrialized place whose life expectancy has gone down. What does that say, folks? We have to have other measurements of success outside of what is happening on Wall Street. When an industrialized nation's life expectancy is going down by 3, 4, 5 years, when our maternal mortality rate is going up every single year, when our education is going down every single year, how can you utter the word exceptional and success and America in the same sentence? It doesn't make any sense. And I need folk, that's what it means to be woke, right? They wanted to turn woke into a pejorative. They wanted to turn woke into something that is bad. Being woke means being aware that you are getting fucked from this way from Sunday. And you're putting people in charge of your life that don't give a fuck about you. I talked about this earlier today on Democracy-ish midweek check-in. When I said the EPA has just passed 2 pesticides that farmers can now use that are called forever pesticides, that they can spray our food, our produce with chemicals that haven't even been researched, also that they last longer. Oh, and then we want to wonder why cancer is through the fucking roof? People say, I don't understand. Like, I ate this food as a kid. Yeah, because when you were a kid 30 years ago, it was food. Now it's food stuff. And on top of passing policies that are going to allow pesticides that are going to kill us, you know that they are not going to tell you. So you're going to pick up your produce and hope to God, oh, I'm trying to eat healthy. My doctor says I need more vegetables in my diet, except those vegetables are poison. And we're the only country that allows that to happen because everywhere else has passed policies that ban these types of fucking pesticides and ban these types of killer chemicals in their food. Same manufacturers are sending products to Europe. But guess what? Their people don't die because their politicians aren't in the pocket of big ag, big pharma. Money is at the core. It is at the root of everything that is evil in this country. And then they don't even want to give you the health care that allows you to mend the sickness that they fucking created. It's obscene. It's obscene. Let me give you some good news. I had to mix up the show a little bit. So here is some good news. Here is a glimmer that is happening right now in Tennessee. Democrats' chances of flipping Republican seat in Tennessee get huge boost. The Republican and Democratic contenders for Tennessee's 7th congressional district are locked in a dead heat, according to a new poll, which is out of Emerson College. An unexpected shift in a seat, Donald Trump won by 22 points in 2024. An Emerson College, the Hill survey released on the final day of in-person early voting shows Republican Matt Van Epps leading Democrat Afton Ben 48 to 46% among likely voters. It's 2 percentage points, with 5% undecided and 2% backing third-party candidates. When leaning voters are included, the gap narrows to 49 to 47, underscoring a dramatic tightening in a district long considered a GOP stronghold. The poll has a margin of error of 3 to 9 percentage points. So essentially, folks, this Republican strong district is now, which was a Republican hold, is now leaning Republican, but this race is neck and neck in Tennessee. So much so, like, why does this matter? The outcome of the special election could have key implications for control of the House of Representatives, where Republicans hold a wafer-thin majority, currently 219 to 213. A party needs 218 for a majority, and there are currently 3 vacancies, with Republican resignations possibly on the horizon. If accurate, the poll could be pointed to shifting political dynamics in a district the GOP has historically dominated. Much of the attention centers around changing voter sentiment after the 2024 presidential election. The district's mix of suburban, rural, and urban voters provides a microcosm of the broader political debate with issues like the economy, healthcare access, and perspectives on Trump influencing decisions at the ballot box. And here is the thing, because we talked about this earlier this week, right? Which is that Marjorie Taylor Greene, many are saying, is the canary in the coal mine for the Republicans in the House, because anonymously, right, folks are saying that they're fed up with Donald Trump and this regime treating them like shit, not giving them anything, any win to go home to their districts with. And like Thomas Massie had said, right, with regard to the Epstein files, you're either cementing your legacy as protecting a pedophile because you want to stay in good graces with Donald Trump, who, mind you, is a lame duck president. So maybe he can provide you some cover in 2026, but after that, this is going to be who you are remembered as, a protector of pedophiles. But more so than that, what the anonymous person gave to Punchbowl, right, was this idea that we need some wins to campaign on. But Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about the base of the Republican Party, because right now he is in the grift of his life. He knows those Kenkels ain't holding out. He knows that whatever MRI he got ain't good. It's why he's talking about knocking on heaven's door and why he's trying to cement his legacy, because TikTok, I'm looking for the Grim Reaper, right? And so here we are. And Republicans don't have a leg to stand on. And the people, even in this tight area of Tennessee that has been gerrymandered to hell, have had enough. So much so, folks, that they are now, Donald Trump and company, all over Elon Musk broke down social media platform begging people to go out and vote for Tennessee Republican Matt Van Epps. Donald Trump, I am asking all America First patriots in Tennessee's 7th congressional district who haven't voted yet to please get out and vote for MAGA warrior Matt Van Epps. And he goes on with the bullshit. Right? If they were winning, if things were going so well, if Donald Trump was as popular as his delusions tell him that he is, this should be a slam dunk. But it's not. Which shows you that the American people are exhausted by MAGA. They're not excited by Democrats per se. I'm sure Afton is great. But as an establishment, as an entire party, they're not excited by Democrats. They're excited by individuals. But what we know as a collective is that they've had a fucking enough of Donald Trump and MAGA policies that are showing them that, oh, all of this America first, all of this, oh, we the people, he don't give a shit about you because he sent your money to Argentina and your health care is going to hell. And then on top of which, because this is why, if you can tell, my dear friends, that my fuse is real short today. Because I tell you that every once in a while I get into these moods and you look at the headlines and you're just like, you know what? I'm done. And today was one of those days with the judge that Donald Trump smuggled into Georgia, dismissing the Georgia election interference case, the most obvious case that was in front of us that literally had Donald Trump on the phone asking for 1,100 and 700 and some odd votes. And now because of Donald Trump now being in office, because he got everyone fired, and because he was able to put in a MAGA loyalist, this case, like all of the others, has now been thrown out. And it just goes to show you, I'm telling you, it is extraordinarily disheartening, because there are times when you're like, I know, at least I find myself, what am I fighting for? What do I go horse for every day? Why am I doing this job? To educate people who don't really want to be educated, to move people to action that want to remain apathetic. When Donald Trump keeps winning in this manner, there are times when I'm just like, let me close the computer for the last time, because I just don't have it to give. We know that Donald Trump is robbing the American public in broad daylight. We know that he stole documents and sold them to the highest bidder. We know that Donald Trump tried to steal the 2020 election, and then I believe he stole the 2024 election. He will never be held accountable. He will never go to jail. And when he dies, they will build statues to him. And then 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, they'll sane wash his legacy and tell us what an, quirky but guy's guy that Donald Trump was. So I want you all to remember. Remembering is important. I talked about this yesterday with the passing of Viola Fletcher, the last living last survivor from the Tulsa massacre, who died at 111. Remembering is important, right? We cannot forget, because everything that they're going to do is going to tell us that what we experienced, what we lived through, didn't happen, and it wasn't that bad. By the time it's all said and done at Donald Trump's funeral, the eulogy, we'll talk about how he told it like it was and what a great man he was, and he stood for something, even if some disagreed with him. I can write it now, because that's what mainstream corporate media does. So it's up to us to remember. It's up to us to fight the gaslight. It's up to us to tell and share the truth. Because everyone else working against us. And as I close out today, this was a story I appreciated, but let's be honest, the New York Times is wildly disappointing most days. The way that they hammered Joe Biden, right? They should have been hammering Donald Trump for, falling asleep in public on a regular basis, stumbling, his cankles, a catheter, his MRI, his bruised hand. Clearly the man is unfucking well, but everyone wants to pretend that, we only care about health and the fitness of the president when the president is a Democrat. Otherwise, we let very obvious decline just slide. So finally, the New York Times wrote this. And then Donald Trump had a meltdown on social media, only calling for the removal of the female reporter of this piece, which is just classic. Shorter days, signs of fatigue. Trump faces realities of aging in office. Still, nearly a year into his second term, Americans see Trump less than they used to. According to a New York Times analysis of his schedule, Trump has fewer public events on his schedule and is traveling domestically much less than he did by this point during his first year in office in 2017, although he is taking more foreign trips. Well, that's where the gold bricks are. He also keeps a shorter public schedule than he used to. Most of his public appearances fall between noon and 5 p.m. on average. Don't you wish you had Donald Trump's working schedule where you worked between noon and 5? This was a picture of Donald Trump, if you remember, in the White House. And what I love about this New York Times piece that is up right now is that this is an actual video. And it shows Donald Trump slumped at his desk, at the Resolute desk, while Dr. Oz and RFK Jr. Lied to the American public about healthcare. And then the person collapses in Donald Trump's office. While RFK then bolts for the door and Donald Trump just stands up like somebody woke him out of a slumber. But does this look like a healthy, fit, engaged, tapped in man? Or does it look like someone's old, grumpy grandpa that probably needs a nap? I mean, this is in a room full of cameras. Do you understand? Like, this was not in Donald Trump's private residence. This was at a press conference in the Oval Office, and he was fighting his eyelids to stay awake. And when he is in public occasionally, his battery shows signs of wear. During an Oval Office event that began around noon on November 6th, which is where that picture is from, Trump sat behind his desk for about 20 minutes as executives standing around him talked about weight loss drugs. At one point, Trump's eyelids drooped until his eyes were almost closed, and he appeared to doze on and off for several seconds. At another point, he opened his eyes and looked toward a line of journalists watching him. He stood up only for a guest who was standing near him. He stood up only after a guest who was standing near him fainted and collapsed. By the way, if you remember, he didn't rush to that person's aid. He didn't actually like see if they needed anything. He just stood up and looked weird at his desk while everyone was rushing behind him to take care of the person that collapsed. He didn't even look towards the person that collapsed. But don't take my word for it, because nobody gives a better breakdown and cold opening with regard to Donald Trump than Lawrence O'Donnell. And I want you to take a listen to Lawrence as he discusses Donald Trump's declining health.
Sharp mental and physical decline. And we now have a number for it. 39%. That is the measure of Donald Trump's physical decline since his first time in the White House. 39%. In an article published tonight by the New York Times, Katie Rogers and Dylan Friedman report under the headline, "Shorter Days, Signs of Fatigue, Trump Faces Realities of Aging in Office." The Times has documented the newly abbreviated schedule for the struggling 79-year-old man. Quote, in 2017, the first year of his first term, Mr. Trump's scheduled events started at 10:31 a.m. on average. By contrast, Mr. Trump in his second term has started scheduled events in the afternoon on average at 12:08 p.m. His events end on average at around the same time as they did during the first year of his term, shortly after 5 p.m. The number of Mr. Trump's total official appearances has decreased by 39%. 39% less Donald Trump. That's what we're getting now. Donald Trump was the laziest president we had ever seen in his first term. He is now 39% lazier. And he is now apparently struggling with a 5-hour workday. And of course, none of us have seen him do anything that in any way meets the definition of work during those 5 hours. The Times reports Mr. Trump appeared to doze off during an event in the Oval Office. And so we are now covering the physical decline and fall of Donald Trump. Last night, I mentioned Donald Trump's age a couple of times when I pointed out that you can see the 79-year-old man who gets very little sleep bewildered about how he is losing his grip on the Republican Party. And there are people who are in full-blown dementia in their early 60s. We all age differently, and Donald Trump is aging just fine for someone who should be watching TV all day and playing golf occasionally, but he's aging terribly for a president. But Donald Trump at his best age would have been the stupidest president and most incompetent president in history, and the most corrupt. A younger Donald Trump is not a better Donald Trump.
That was my favorite part. He was like, a younger Donald Trump is not a better Donald Trump, and that he's 39% lazier than he was as the first time that he was president. Lawrence, bless you for that, because it was Fantastic. And dear friends, before I get out of here to go and bake pies and make macaroni and cheese and drink some Pinot Noir, which I desperately need, I want to thank each and every single one of you that has shown up for me this year, liked, commented, and subscribed, that have been active in our live chats and active in the comment section, and have sent me DMs and well wishes when I seem weary and when I feel like maybe it's time to call it quits. You all seem to come in with the energy that I need to keep going. And so, as we are entering into this season of gratitude, I am grateful for each and every single one of you. Grateful for the time that you give me, grateful for the trust that you have in me to deliver you the news on a regular basis with my opinions and my passion that I offer. And so I just want to say thank you to all of you. And thank you to those who have the ability to provide resources like Ernst on a regular basis, Susan, who is our fantastic moderator. Junior, thank you so much. PJ, as always, coming in with extraordinarily generous gifts. Thank you so very much. Zoe, thank you so much for the 1999 Tiger Claw for $10. And Susan, again, thank you. Thank you so much for your dedication to this channel, to this community, and to the work that I do. I could not do this if you all did not have the trust in me that you do. I could not do this if you all did not show up on a regular basis the way that you do. And so I just want to say thank you. Thank you. I am absolutely grateful to the Damnation community. You all are an extraordinary bunch. And I hope, you know what one of my wishes is? I think somebody had asked me like what my dream job was. And I, for Town Hall Tuesday, and I said that my dream job was that I'm doing my dream job, but a second dream job would be to be a published author. My other dream, I will tell you, is I have this vision, and I'm going to share it with all of you because I think it's important to put good vibes out into the universe. My real joyful moment will be having a book, going on a book tour, and seeing all of you whose names I've seen in the chat show up and actually put handles to faces and be able to thank you all in real life. That would be a shining moment for me, is just like a room full of Damnation dedicated members. So let's put that out into the universe that we can make that happen in the future. So I wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving for those that celebrate. And remember, folks, we're not celebrating the rape and the oppression and subjugation and erasure of Indigenous people. We are just gathering with people that hopefully we love, people we glean joy from, family, friends, and hopefully offering up some truth, some connection, some real authenticity and beauty at a time of just darkness. And remember, if you can't find the light, be the light. Folks, I will have videos up tomorrow, but we will not be live tomorrow for the Danielle Moodie Show for Thanksgiving. I am taking the day off, but we will have videos up for you to watch. And TBD on whether or not Waj and I are going to do Friday. He may have to take his kids to Disneyland. And if that is the case, then I will go live solo on Friday. So you'll get one more live out of me. So do stay tuned. Happy Thanksgiving to all, and I will see you on Friday. As always, power to the people, and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane, and in these extraordinarily dangerous times, dear friends, do stay safe. I will see you back here on Friday with or without Wash. Be well.